So in today's episode of Exceptional Unplugged, we have someone who is an extremely sharp commercial leader, someone who has built up brands in different geographies, someone who has been at the forefront of growth and impact. He's done that through extremely sharp commercial acumen, relentless execution, and a strong belief in building up teams. It's a pleasure to have Mr. Satyabrata Das. Thank you so much, Mr. Das, for being here on Exceptional Unplugged.
Thank you, Rajat. Thanks a lot.
Mr. Das, just for a lot of common people who do not understand the kind of work lubes do, lubricants do in our lives, can you just give them a little bit of a perspective right from, just how the car would function in a driveway to the power grid in Dubai? How exactly the lubes are driving the lifeline in the world?
Well, I think predominantly the lubricants function is simple.
Mm-hmm.
All of us like to be in motion.
Mm-hmm.
In Sanskrit, what we call Gati. Right from childhood, a child wants to ride a tricycle, then he goes to bicycle, then he goes to a car, then he goes to a flight. So anything then when it moves,
mm-hmm.
the lubricant does that very little thing invisibly, is to create a very thin film, and it ensures that complete uninhibited motion.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be for a car, it can be for a motorcycle, it can be for an aircraft, it can be for any machine. So, and that's what actually philosophically, if you see, keeps the world
growing.
So in that perspective, a very little element in terms of cost and size does a tremendously active and consistently active
mm-hmm.
role in anything that moves.
That's great, and you kind of gave the comparison from a human life as well on how things keep going. But just someone who's not a petrol head or someone who hasn't got an understanding about the industry, what has changed? Can you just give a perspective? You've been in the industry for 3 decades. What has changed in the lubricant industry for the last 3 decades?
Well, that's a lot of things. But I think if I have to pick one thing that has changed from a sales perspective, I'm not getting into the technology perspective, but a sales perspective, one needs to be much stronger,
mm-hmm.
both as a technically knowledgeable person,
okay.
as well as a salesperson. I think that profile is changing. You just cannot go and tom-tom about your product and do it. You have to know the product, you have to know the customer. These things are definitely evolving much more because the customer demands are increasing. They expect the lubricants and the supplier of lubricants and the fellow who is selling lubricant to actually add value to him, not just giving a product for lubrication.
Is that the same across both the geographies? You've worked extensively in India and you've had a fabulous exposure and you've done very well in Middle East as well. Is that a different kind of a thing, the sales exposure in the subcontinent vis-a-vis what's in Middle East?
I don't think so. But it definitely depends on the individual, how he looks at his role. But I don't think it is too different in the Middle East and the subcontinent.
Mm-hmm. You've been an extremely successful commercial leader. You have had a fantastic exposure moved up from a sales side and building up the brands from scratch. What I've also seen, of course, that you worked with big brands who are known in the region. And now you're leading a function, or rather the entire business, for a brand that's trying to establish itself in the region. As someone who's competing in a very competitive space, how do you tackle the big wigs in the region? What's the kind of strategy that you will use, to kind of look at some new brands that's entering in this space, and especially in the lube space?
Well, I should not talk about other brands, but I can talk about our brand, how we want to position it. And that is the first thing we did when we decided to increase our global presence. That is the idea of my taking up this role. So I believe that the lubricant industry, definitely in this region, and I believe broadly globally, have three distinct segments, three distinct layers. The top layers are the global big majors who have presence all over, who have got very high level of business, the Shells, Totals, Mobils of the world. And the second tier are the relatively smaller global brands. I don't want to get into names. And also the local biggies. You say Indian Oil, you say HPCL in India. Here you see Petromin, you see Inox, Adnox of the world. And then comes any number of brands you will see in most active markets, be it India, be it Middle East, be it even Europe. Who just mushroom around, they make some lubricants and they have sale, they have market. So in these three segments, the basic difference is these. The top two tiers, quality need not be thought about. They are of similar quality level. And the bottom one, you definitely do not know what level of quality they have or they do not have. So a company like us, who we believe that we have the bandwidth of manufacturing lubricants, growing with that, and of course the experience, capability to reach global levels much faster than many other brands will do. I think I tend to position ourselves, my aim is that any market you go in 3 to 5 years' time, you should be considered a respected player in that middle band. And that defines a lot of things. That defines your customer and hence price points. And that also defines how you're going to communicate, you and your team and your distributors are going to communicate to the customers. That's very key. That's how I think one should look at. And if you are clear about that positioning, I think the rest should automatically follow. If somebody wants to operate in the third category, I think he has to follow his line of thinking without trying to be different. That's how I think you must decide in which segment of the industry you want to operate. You must understand the challenges and your relative strengths for that, and then go all out.
I'll just stick to this point, Mr. Das. In this David versus Goliath story, where a lot of bigger global brands are there, is pricing the only thing, or it could be a lot of other factors as well? And I'm trying to correlate with a lot of other companies in different other industries who are taking on larger giants in those industries. How's going to be the differentiation? How do you kind of stand out against those big boys and make a mark?
Well, that's the job we do day in, day out. Now, I believe there are two or three things. One is, while many people will rightly feel that lubricant, at least in the automotive space, has become a commodity. It's a very low involvement category.
Correct.
But then if you see, brand plays an extremely major role in lubricant business, definitely in terms of acceptance and more importantly, in managing your margins. So if that is the case, what is a brand doing? I'm not a brand expert. In my simple philosophy, when it is a commodity, what does a customer look for? Either he looks for something which he is knowing that apparently everybody is using. I have heard a lot from my family childhood and it's a good thing. Or he is able to see a distinct familiarity of a product with a brand or with a company which he has been trusting till yesterday. And that is where I think a company's role, a salesperson's role, the management's role comes in. How do you convince a customer? Because no salesman is going to go and say, my product is not good. Everybody will say that my product is good. How do you create an atmosphere of trust and comfort level in the customer? And in many cases, people end up, giving a sales talk, which doesn't really go beyond the regular speech. And that's a major challenge. We also felt, how do we strengthen our communication, both our teams as well as our channel partners team. So Rajat, the way I have handled it is this, that what is Apar? I am taking my company's, my current role so that it is more relevant. What is Apar? Apar is basically a large Indian conglomerate who has got three different product lines, broadly three main product lines. One is the cables and conductors, one is transformer oil, the third one is lubricant. Now in cables and conductors and transformer oil, we are really global players. We are in close to 150 countries and all that is fine. Now, here is a company whose largest product in that segment, in cables, aluminum cables, and we are world's largest player. In transformer oil, we are globally number 3 player and Middle East and India's number 1 player. And in spite of people who know how competitive transformer line is, market share in most of the Middle East countries for us is above 70%.
That's fantastic.
Now, come to lubricants. Can this company do anything but producing and marketing the very best product? Because if there is a product issue with your product which is trying to gain larger presence, he will lose credibility with his other major products. So as a company, if you forget about the sales talk, a good company cannot afford to do that. That is one thing. Second thing I always tell people, and I'm not sure if everybody really likes that, it's an Indian company, right? So our initial presence have been in India. Now, India is world's 3rd largest lubricant market, and it's very complex. I believe, like any market, it is competitive. I don't see India is only competitive. I think all markets are competitive, but India is definitely a very complex market. Now, we sell around 100 million liters. I don't think by advertisement or by pricing game, you can consistently sell that kind of a level of products in a country like India. So the product has to be good. Otherwise, you can't consistently reach so many customers. And what is important in our case is this: a large portfolio of our business in India is industrial and OEMs who are definitely much more technology savvy, quality conscious, and needing that. So if we are succeeding there, the product has to be good. And then when I tell these two things to somebody who is equally, when we talk in a large organization, I think that makes sense. When you talk to mechanics, I have found this is a very easy thing for them to grasp. And I remember the first meet we had with the mechanics here in Dubai. One fellow asked a very funny question. He said, in Hindi, he asked me that, I understand everything is good. Just give me one reason why you're not selling here earlier. Why have you come here so late? So I really didn't have any answer. And I told him, you see, when your child was studying, you did not send him to US on day one. First he studied in India.
In India. And
then you go. So everything has got a life. And he started laughing. So, it's basically that happened, this kind of light talks you can make only when you have created the basic confidence in his mind that I'm not dealing with a company, with a product, which is likely to be anything but good.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a great way to look at it and give a perspective right from the at the lowest of the level and right at the top level. One thing I wanted to know, Mr. Das, since you have been in the industry for so long and you worked with established brands and you've been an architect in growth for some of the other brands as well in the past and now with Apar, is there a different kind of leadership strategy that you need to use in an established brand where you're heading up the complete portfolio vis-a-vis a brand that's growing very fast and like a startup and wants to grow exponentially fast and capture newer markets? So how do you adapt or how do you use a different kind of leadership style in both setups?
I think, leadership to me is basically same whatever you do. I have played cricket in my life. A cricket captain, what he does is basically the same thing what an industry true leader is expected or required to, work upon. Basically, you need to give your team a confidence that yes, if we work sincerely in the manner which we have decided to work, we will succeed. Second thing is this, having the confidence on your team member. There will be ups and downs. At the company level, when you are in a large company, I think challenges are slightly more, if you ask me, because sometimes you grow, sometimes you don't grow. So somebody can say it is up and down. But whereas for a new brand in a new market, you are expected to only grow. It is only the question of pace, whether it is slow or exponential or whatever. So the issue is this, your people must know for which company they are working for in terms of philosophy, in terms of belief in front of anybody, be it a customer in the retail high street, be it a customer in a large organization. You must depend on the belief that you have in your mind, the culture and value system that your organization has created over the years. And that's where I think a large organization like ours play a major role. Because culture and value, in my opinion, is very, very important if you want to have your employees completely synced with you. While you face a difficult situation, you may take X step, Y step. But then if culture and value is ingrained in you, you will never take, or you are least likely to take a wrong step. That's very important for me. And that's what, in fact, I was fortunate to be associated with doing in one of my previous assignments. Now, the challenge that you face is when you are in a large organization, because of the scale of the organization, financial power of your existing business, and the brand, you tend to attract better people. You can afford to employ better people. Whereas in a organization where you are going to be a startup, your particular units, see, the investor is definitely investing, but you cannot have everything on the day one and you start from zero. So there has to be a match between what you are investing today and what you are getting output. Obviously, the percentages will vary. So the initial phase, one thing, your ability to employ a very high salaried fellow may be less, number one. Number two, even if you pay, why should somebody join you unless he has some confidence in your company and brand? Now, there I think I am fortunate that the company itself gives, by its profile and the long history, gives tremendous confidence to a person who actually researches about the company before coming to an interview. I am not talking about any personal thing here, because somebody may come because he likes me, somebody may not come because he doesn't like me because of past history. I think it is basically the organization's history, recent history is very important. Next thing is more difficult. Having somebody who may not be the very best in the world, but definitely have some values. How do you nurture him to be a winner? Mm-hmm. That's very important. And that's what I think we try to do, build the right value system in him, build the right beliefs on your products, on your practices in him, and then, rely on his basic skills. Skill development, of course, happens anywhere, so I'm not talking on that. Yeah.
You spoke about a couple of things which match up with my level of interest. You spoke about cricket thing as well, and about the captain.
It's okay.
Just this is Exceptional Unplugged, and we like to know about the leaders' abilities beyond just the boardroom management. What...
No, I have not been a captain in a cricket team.
But who's your favorite captain, Mr. Das, if I just want to understand?
I think undoubtedly Dhoni and Ganguly.
Ganguly was the first one, right? The architect of putting up and
Ganguly
setting up.
Changed the face of Indian cricket, changed the way Indian cricketers believed.
He created that kind of an environment, early 2000s, and when he built up the thing. And just in the same way, for me, again, the CEO is someone who is setting up the entire ecosystem and culture of the organization. He's the captain. If I draw parallels to what Ganguly did in early 2000s and built up a fighting spirit in the unit and self-belief in the people and defined the clear roles for each of the members, and the results started coming in a couple of years. That's the same thing for the CEO as well, for any kind of CEO. And we look for that when we are working on any kind of hiring and any kind of identification of top talent in the region, that what is the culture that the person has set up earlier. Just getting that perspective from you, Mr. Das, has the definition of culture changed in the next generation that is joining the workforce to what it was in let's say, 90s and early 2000s?
Well, I am not an expert, but the way I have looked at it, I don't think culture changes too much. It may change something, but what does not change and should not change is the value system. Values have to be same at any point in time. Cultures, depending on the environment, there could be a bit of twist, a bit of tweak here and there. That's it. That's the way I look at it. I hope I am not wrong.
But you mentioned about a couple of other things, that look for certain kind of people who are willing to learn and adapt into the organization.
Absolutely.
That's important. Would you hire someone who is a great performer, who's a high performer, but doesn't fit into the culture or is a misfit in any way?
No, fitting into the culture is very, very important, and that is where all of us look at a candidate first before we look at anything else after we've gone through his CV and looking at him, because the culture is very important. There's no point in taking somebody who is from a completely different culture. It cannot be wrong culture, completely different culture to bring in here until and unless you are looking at that. There are certain phases of an organization when you are looking at changing the culture itself of the organization. That time you may bring a few fellows who will be your communicators of new culture, the whole team. That also is very, very, very important. But then it depends on the phase. I have worked in a company in a phase where it's a big company, and let us not get into names of that. It was into the red, which was unthinkable. So the challenge when we are facing, I've been fortunate to be one of the few seniors in the organization to build that company from that level to another level. You definitely want to be profitable. You cut cost, you increase your sales, you increase your price, you do this, you do that. But fortunately for us, we realize pretty early that all this can be done only when the culture of this company is changed from here to here. Let us not get into what is right, wrong. If we want to be a leader in an industry, in a market, in a society, in a longer time frame, you need to build in that culture and value system. And trust me, that work took for us, I'm just saying 1 year, but it doesn't happen in a year. Basically, we gave tremendous amount of input to the team within 1 year. And mind you, that before this, the team what we had definitely were not the best in the industry. But that 1 year of input and giving them that feeling very subtly, you can't do that every morning, this is your culture, this is your value. I think there was a tremendous output in the next, I think, 3-4 years. Because the same fellow who was talking in a different tone talks in a different tone tomorrow. And that was visible to us. And it was not with 1, 2. I think we had a sales team of about 140, 160 that time. It was a distinct level. Then when you come out of that turnaround phase, when you become profitable and you want to grow in the industry, you definitely need also some people who are of a higher caliber, better quality. Now what happened is this, instead of making a drastic change, you find 40-50% of our fellow has already moved into that belt. That makes your life easier. You bring in maybe 10% new people who will imbibe that better. But then what we did is this, we did not change our people overnight. We changed the attitude of people, the way they work, definitely from a scale which will be in the tier 3 I was talking about to tier 1, not tier 2. So that is a process for which what you need is a very strong belief in what you are doing, because it takes time. It takes time.
You're talking about a very important subject, which is sometimes leaders forget about, culture being the bedrock of any organization. And ultimately, the results come through the financial or customer side of things. Do you have some kind of metrics that you follow to evaluate the cultural nuances and how they have changed over a period of time?
I am not an expert. I am sure there are ways out. We did use that time. We did give the assignment to somebody who is a consultant, so to say. And I learned tremendously from him, tremendously. I used to spend hours. So I think they know how to do it better. But the question what one should ask is this, what change you are looking for?
So that's just in the industry of lubricants. We have constant R&D in terms of getting better quality of things. And there's a kind of tension between cost effectiveness and the high performance element as well. So how do you decide on a sweet spot on to balance both and deliver more to the customer at the same time, keep the cost element low as well? Because that's a big thing for an emerging brand.
Yeah, the first thing I think is that there cannot be any compromise used to become more cost effective. It has to meet the technical requirement. There is nothing with that. But then some of the mid-segment products does give option to use base oil grade 1 and grade 2 and use additional treat rates. So when the prices of 1 and 2 differ, that time you can use that. But definitely no compromise allowed on that.
Mm-hmm. Just in the same vein, I want to understand that the level that you're aspiring to take the Apar to the next level. Would you take a lot of risk at that level? Would you be a risk leader and
risk in terms of?
In terms of identifying new products or looking at new set of range of products, or Would you just hold back and see the market, one market? And
I think one has to do both together because you have to grow with your existing range of products where you are strong, but definitely you need to get into newer and more developed product, so-called synthetic products more, from two perspectives. One is this, they may be a product, they may be a major product for you after 5 years. But what is more important is this, those give a customer a bit more confidence, that's all. So if you see in all of ours, all good companies will have 0W20 in the top product in the price list. Now 0W20, he may be selling some companies 0.1%, some companies 0.05%. But the presence of the product and the price level both gives the image of the company. That's very important. But if you are talking about that in terms of technology and formulation, there is no shortcut.
there has to go through the full cycle of the.
If you are coming to be in one that the tier 1, tier 2.
And how do you see the entire advent of AI and new technologies on the digital front? How is that impacting the entire lubricant space?
I think the main advantage and the need for using AI is in predictive maintenance, not first for you, but for your customer. That's where you add value to your offerings to a customer, because I strongly believe that, in the next maybe 10 years or so, it has to change from a product to a service for a lubricant company more. Today we are basically product. There have been some niche segments where you talk about service, but I think as we progress, it will become a complete bundle offer, including service down the line.
So do you think there is also a threat looming large on the lubricant space with all the electric vehicles and how they are penetrating in the market? Do you think that's going to be?
No, I don't think so. If you're talking about threat from what? Threat if you are talking about volume of business, yes, to the extent that electric vehicles are coming, your lubricant requirement for those new vehicles will be much smaller than the existing ones. But we need to remember that there are 3 or 4 things happening there. First is this, that electrification itself is not happening where the great analysts and great speakers of the world would like to have. We all tom-tom around this because we want to show we are conscious of, and all that. But actually, if you look at it, you take the largest 3 lubricant markets in the world, US, China, and India. Mm-hmm. US, the conversion of vehicles in terms of EV over existing is still much lesser than 5%. Mm-hmm. That is number one. China is definitely much stronger. They are still around 12%, 13%. India is hovering between 1% and 2%. So definitely in the next 25, 30, 35 years, the market is going to impact it just because EVs are coming, number one. Number two is this, when EVs are coming, this is also extending the life of the existing products. So they will consume more lubricants. Now, this is to give you a confidence, a comfort level that you will not have a big problem. But the major thing that companies like ourselves have started doing, not today, for the last so many years, maybe 7, 8 years, is that progressively you go into industrial lubricants. Because industrial lubricant will not come. Industrial lubricant become more sophisticated. It will give you more top and bottom line. So that's how you make a shift. I don't think EV is going to create a problem for a company who thinks ahead and who has inner strengths.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Just on another aspect of the industry, since Apar is also moving into different regions, getting into Europe, or we're just discussing into other parts in the regions. The supply chain side of things plays a very critical role in your industry. So how do you manage those kind of preventive mechanisms that the supply chain is not hit on in any front, and especially in the export of the the entire loop space?
Well, first thing, I don't manage supply chain in my company, where even now our major production center is in India. Now, it's not rocket science, not that we are all doing things, we are doing all things correctly. But I believe the issue is of better forecasting, which comes both from experience and AI. And how do you develop your vendors? That's very important, because you will definitely like to choose a good vendor and a cost-effective vendor. But how do you build relationship with them? How do you really help them grow themselves? Then in a critical time, they will give you more, more comfort level when crises like this will happen. And of course, you need to be conscious about the geographical spread of vendors. If you have global vendors, even in India is a large market, you do have vendors from different regions. If you are talking about supply chain for lubricants for global markets, you need to have presence in all markets, and material has to reach. Now, when something like the current situation happens, nothing else you can do about reaching the product to, say, Saudi Arabia or to Oman. So the thing that you should do, and we are trying to do, is this: increase your sales, increase your efforts to markets where this is not a great bottleneck today. That's how you try to do, as per my preference. But then that is not the only solution.
Mm-hmm. What is needed for a great salesperson to reach the level of a CEO? What are the things that he needs to keep in mind? He's a great sales performer.
First thing, he has to have the vision to be a CEO. Mm-hmm. I remember, I'm not taking names, it is not fair. Mm-hmm. One gentleman in one of my previous companies, he was a finance, he joined as a general manager of finance, and he was interviewed by the MD that time. Mm-hmm. And he asked him, what is your ambition? He said, to sit in that chair. And he actually became one of the most successful MDs of that company for a long time. All of you know these names. So first thing, you need to have the ambition. Mm-hmm. You need to be there. And then if you want to be there, you have to first be good in your role. You try to increase your roles, and parallelly increase your leadership qualities. And in that, the organization must help you in job rotation, which all of us talk about it, but not many organizations do it.
Mm-hmm. And you've done that. You've done that very well in the organizations. You've had that commercial background. You've written that. But what habits or routines have you brought in yourself to be such an effective leader?
Oh, first thing, I'm not sure if I'm an effective leader.
That's
but
what the business results that I've seen.
As a salesperson, what do you need? You need, if you don't use the word need, as a salesperson, what is your aim? First aim is to make some sale, X amount of sale. So you must know what is required for you to sell. So, for example, when I was a regional manager, I think we were enlarging a large. I'm giving you simple habits. They are definitely not, but that's how you develop. I had, I think, about 35 or 40 sales fellows and so many dealers and all that. Now, how do you monitor them? And so basic thing, a simple thing, every day morning I open my own way of monitoring. I read everything. And I used to tell people, because I do that, even if you call me in the middle of the night, I'll be able to tell you how much this dealer has done, how much the executive has done till yesterday. Mm-hmm. Now, once you do this, you help yourself in two manners. You are able, and this has actually happened for me, you definitely try to manage things better. Second thing is this, where I wanted to go to a different role, I was given time for, I think, 6 months or 9 months to develop the next fellow. Now, I brought the next fellow in. Now, if I am doing his job, then he not going to grow.
Yeah.
So I left him completely. You manage this. In spite of that, since I am doing the basic jobs, even that time, I know what is happening. So that gives you tremendous leverage to know things happening without actually doing things. And this is a very simple thing. I have practiced in Level. It helps. And nothing, no great science in that.
Mm-hmm. Since you've been in the industry for so long, what is the one transformation you haven't seen in the lubricant space that you expect in the future to come through?
I think we need to be sensitive about waste disposal and recycling of that.
Mm-hmm. And with more focus coming on the green and decarbonization, do you think that's going to take a shift?
Yeah. So that is one thing. And the other thing, if one thing you said, that is the one. But second thing is this, what I was just now talking, I definitely feel it is going to move from a product offering to a service offering. Mm-hmm. The faster you get into that, the better.
Got it. That's a lot of knowledge. That's a lot of information that you have shared, Mr. Das. Now, just on something different that defines Exceptional Unplugged, what is one thing that makes Mr. Das exceptional?
I don't think I'm exceptional.
That's being very modest. There are lots of people who have said those things that you have a lot of exceptional qualities. We just want to know one of these.
I replied that. I think I'm not exceptional.
Okay.
I think if you think that, you will excel. If you think...
so you like to keep yourself grounded all the time?
Fact of life. I am not exceptional. If you trust that, but if you want to grow, that will make you grow.
Fair enough. That's a person who's very grounded but has a high vision. I'll take that. But what's the one unplugged version of you? We want to know something that a lot of people don't know about.
Well, that I cannot tell because I talk a lot with whoever I spend time. I love cricket. And I make it a point to talk that I know cricket. That has been a passion through my life.
Mm-hmm. Do you play cricket?
I do not play anymore, but up to my college life, I have played, so-called first division cricket, first class cricket I have played.
Fantastic. And who's the, you mentioned about Dhoni and Ganguly. Who do you reckon is better as
There are different personalities of different era. And I think both are completely different personalities. If you look at Ganguly, he is very upfront, he is very aggressive, he gives you that comfort level. But Dhoni is completely laid off. People call him cool, means he's really cool, but his thinking is as good as anybody. The way he reads a game, the way he reads a person, and his leadership skills are tremendous. And I was fortunate to spend a lot of time with Dhoni because of my previous job, and there is so much to learn from him.
True that, completely, Mr. Das. And since you've followed cricket so passionately, you've played it at the first class level, Mr. Das, if you don't mind, just share with us those moments that you've had. You have, sponsored in your earlier roles, the Chennai Super Kings, and you've followed IPL so much. Can you just share some of those memories? Can you share some of those moments that you have with those cricketing legends that have played in the IPL?
Well, I think, on a professional gain level, some of the things I have heard Dhoni talking in a forum or in a close conversation, whatever few things I had, I think phenomenal. If you two things I remember Dhoni was telling in a meeting. He was telling that people ask me, do you do groupism? Do you do what he calls so-called politics?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He said, yes, I do. The objective has to be defined. He said, when I go, I remember he was telling that, when I go in the evening out for a dinner, I don't go with XYZ because they love drinking. I don't like drinking. So I go with somebody who is not in the habit of drinking, who doesn't miss drinking. Now, if you call it groupism, it is groupism. It is required so that you spend your leisure moment with like-minded people. It doesn't mean that you don't like other fellow. Which is a very good thing, very bold thing to say. And he took names that day. The second thing was I really did not think he will talk so openly. So that means he thought, because Dhoni is known to be a very cool fellow and gives a lot of freedom to people to work. He's saying, but then in a corporate world or in a playground, you need to have, as a leader, you need to have a mix of both. He was telling a situation when it was a crunch situation, and he told a bowler, surprisingly he took the name also in that meeting, he said, I told him that you bowl in this line. So the first ball I saw it just the opposite. So I told him, yeah, just take care. Second ball, same thing. I said, no, please do this. Third ball, I went and asked him, why are you doing this? So he said in Hindi, I am thinking that is the best thing to do. And I told him, I am supposed to think, not you. You do what I say. Now that's a very complete different Dhoni that we all know about. So what he said is this, that at times, in a crunch time, when you think something has to be done, you got to change yourself. Now, because Dhoni has created such confidence, such respect in the fellow, I'm not feel bad. But a person like me, if I say always that, people will feel bad. That's, I think, was a great learning for me. And the other thing, I mean, I'm sure all of you have heard, I liked what I saw in an interview of Ganguly, how he developed as a player. If you have seen that, I keep on reading it, keep on listening to that video many times in a month, at least 5-6 times. You know, in the famous NatWest Trophy match where he and Sehwag played so well, I am sorry if I am repeating it for you, but because I love it.
Go on, please.
He says that they had to do some, I think close to 300 that time, 50-over match, and he said me and Sehwag went and we were playing very well, 70 and all that. And so I just told him, Dick, see now we are comfortable, just play singles. He said, yeah, sure. The first ball he hits a 4. I said, see, 4 is done, so this over, take the next ball close. The second ball, he hits another 4. I said, yeah, great job done. Now at least cool down and be this. The third ball, he sweeps from the off stump. If he had missed it, we would have gone. It went for a 4 or 6, whatever. He said, then I stopped going to him. And on the last ball, he took a single. And he said, skip, I'm taking a single while crossing him. He said, we won it. We won the match.
Yep.
And then I was very worried, upset, whatever. And then I was happy, whatever. So after 2 days, I asked him. I said, Biru, why did you not listen to me that day? He said, first thing, tell me, are you angry? He said, no, I was angry on you, but not anymore. So he said, because I felt that time that was the best thing for me to do. So then Ganguly is saying, I changed myself. I realized that I have got one Biru, one Harbhajan, one Ganguly who are different. Until unless we allow everybody to be different and do their best, as a leader, I will not succeed. So that was a great learning. I think you need to, and I love it so much. I read it, I listen to that quite frequently.
No, that's a great bit of an experience that you're sharing after meeting up the legends in cricket, and that has a lot of parallels in the corporate side of things as well, Mr. Das, on both sides, both on Dhoni as well as on Ganguly's side. But thank you so much for your time on Exceptional Unplugged. This was Mr. Das completely unplugged, talking about his journey on the corporate, the kind of brands that he's built up, and the journey that he is in taking this new brand at Apar, different at a global level, as well as his love for the game in cricket and how his experience has been drawing parallels on both sides of the industry. Keep watching Exceptional Unplugged and do write to us your comments about what and how we can do better. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rajat.
Thank you, Mr. Das.